The digital age has brought us closer together than ever before, but it has also created a perfect hunting ground for those who prefer to remain in the shadows. We like to believe that our homes are our fortresses. We lock the doors, we draw the curtains, and we tell ourselves that we are safe from the outside world. But what if the danger isn't outside? What if it's already in the room with you, standing just inches away in the darkness, waiting for you to notice? Tonight, I'm sharing 3 disturbing true stories from people who realized, far too late, that they were never truly alone. These aren't urban legends. These are real-life nightmares that happen to people just like you. Lock your doors, turn down the lights. This is Night Tales. Story 1 begins. Moving into your first apartment is supposed to be a milestone of freedom, a step toward independence that every young adult craves more than anything. For me, it was more than just a milestone. It was a desperate escape from a chaotic home life where silence was a luxury I could never afford. At 19, I finally saved enough money from working double shifts at a local diner to afford a small, budget-friendly unit on the very edge of town. The building was old, with graying bricks and narrow, dimly lit hallways that always smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and rotting wood. My unit was simple, almost monastic. A living room with a single window, a cramped kitchen with an old-fashioned stove, and a bedroom at the end of a long, narrow, and exceptionally dark hallway that seemed to swallow all light. For the first few months, it felt like paradise. I spent my days decorating the space with thrift store furniture, and my nights enjoying the absolute heavy silence of living alone for the first time in my life. I felt like I had finally taken control of my destiny, completely oblivious to the fact that someone else might be sharing that sanctuary with me. That feeling of total security was shattered on a cold, windswept Friday night in late November. I had invited a girl named Sammy over. We had been close friends since high school, and the night was going perfectly. We ordered pizza, watched a couple of 90s slasher flicks, and talked about our plans for the future until the early hours of the morning. Eventually, exhaustion took over. We fell asleep on top of the covers in my bedroom, fully clothed, with the bedroom door left halfway open to let some air circulate through the stuffy apartment. Around 3:15 a.m., I was pulled from a deep, dreamless sleep by a faint rhythmic sound. It wasn't loud, but in the dead of night it sounded like a drum. It was the sound of floorboards creaking in the hallway, the specific, high-pitched groan that only happened when someone stepped near the bathroom door. I reached out to touch Sammy's shoulder, thinking she was getting up for water, but my hand hit the cold, empty mattress. She was gone. I sat up slowly, my heart starting to thud against my ribs like a trapped bird. I looked through the open bedroom door and saw Sammy in the living room through the narrow gap of the hallway. She wasn't getting water. She was frantically grabbing her jacket and her bag, her movements jerky and panicked, as if she were running for her life. She was leaving in a hurry, not even putting her shoes on properly, stumbling toward the exit. I figured she might have had an emergency or just felt an overwhelming sense of awkwardness being there, so I didn't call out to her. I didn't want to make things worse. A moment later, I heard the heavy metallic thud of the front door closing and the final echoing click of the lock. I was alone in the apartment, or at least that's what I desperately tried to tell myself as I lay back down, staring at the ceiling and listening to the wind howl against the window pane. Exactly 1 hour later, at 4:15 a.m., a violent crash erupted from the living room. It sounded like a heavy bookshelf had been tipped over, or a glass coffee table had been shattered into 1,000 jagged pieces. The sound was so loud it felt like it vibrated through the floorboards and directly into my bones. My heart jumped into my throat, and for a long moment I couldn't even draw breath. Had Sammy come back? Had she forgotten something and tried to climb through the window? Or had she left the door unlocked, allowing someone else to walk right in? I grabbed my phone from the nightstand, my fingers shaking so violently I almost dropped it. I texted her, "Sammy, did you come back? Something just crashed in the living room." I watched the screen with wide eyes, waiting for the bubbles to appear. Nothing. No reply. The delivered status sat there, mocking me in the suffocating dark. I sat up in bed, my eyes wide and fixed on the pitch-black hallway. The only light in the entire apartment came from the pale, sickly blue glow of a street lamp outside, which cast long, distorted shadows down the corridor that reached toward my bedroom door like skeletal fingers. I strained my ears, listening for a voice, a footstep, or even the sound of heavy breathing. Then, the silence was broken in the most terrifying way possible. I saw two pale, long-fingered hands reach around the edge of my bedroom doorframe from the hallway. They gripped the wood tightly, their knuckles white, as if they were pulling a heavy body closer to the door. They were positioned high up, suggesting the person was tall, and they remained perfectly still, just holding the doorframe. I froze, paralyzed by a level of terror I didn't know existed in the real world. My lungs felt like they were filled with ice water. I couldn't scream, I couldn't move. I just watched those hands. Slowly, with a trembling hand, I reached for my phone again and flicked on the high-intensity flashlight, aiming it straight at the door. The beam of light sliced through the darkness and hit the hands. In that split second, I saw a sliver of a face peering around the wood, a face that was unnervingly pale, with wide, unblinking eyes and a wide, static grin that showed a row of crooked teeth. The light didn't scare them away. Instead, they stared directly into the beam for a moment before the hands slowly retracted into the darkness of the hallway, as if they were being pulled back by an invisible string. I finally found my voice and screamed, "I have a gun! Get out!" I heard a sudden, frantic scrambling sound coming from the kitchen pantry. Then, the front door flew open and I heard heavy boots pounding down the stairs. When the police arrived, they found a hidden crawlspace door in the back of my kitchen pantry. Inside, they found a sleeping bag and Polaroids of me sleeping. He had been living in my walls for weeks. The second story takes us to a house that was far too large for its own good. It was a sprawling, two-story Victorian on the outskirts of a rural town, filled with creaky stairs, drafty hallways, and far too many windows that looked out into the dense, dark woods. My father worked late shifts at a factory, and my mother was often away on weekends, leaving me alone in that massive house with only my thoughts for company. I was 16, and I thought I was brave. I enjoyed the solitude, but the house always seemed to breathe when it was empty. It was a Friday night in midwinter. The wind was whipping around the corners of the roof, and I was in my upstairs bedroom watching videos. Around midnight, my phone rang. The screen displayed no caller ID. I ignored it multiple times until I finally picked up, driven by a mix of annoyance and a strange sense of dread. Silence. Then I heard a sound that made my blood run cold. It was the sound of a television, but it wasn't just any TV. It was the exact news program I'd left running at a low volume in the living room downstairs. The sound on the phone was perfectly synced with the sound coming from beneath my feet. Someone was standing in my living room, holding a phone, and calling me from inside my house. "Who is this?" I whispered. No answer. Only the rhythmic, steady breathing of whoever was holding the device. I hung up and locked my bedroom door immediately. Then the phone rang again. This time, I heard a footstep through the receiver. It was the third step on our staircase, the one that always squeaks like a rusted hinge. Then the fourth, then the fifth. Every step they took downstairs was transmitted through the phone directly to my ear. They were coming for me, and they wanted me to hear their progress. I crawled into my closet and called 911. While on the phone with the operator, I heard the footsteps stop right outside my bedroom door. The doorknob began to turn, slowly and deliberately. The wood groaned under the pressure of someone leaning their weight against it. Then, the phone in my hand vibrated. The person on the other side finally spoke. It was a raspy, distorted whisper that sounded like sandpaper. "I know you're in the closet, Ben. I can hear you breathing." The line went dead. I sat in total darkness, holding my breath until the police arrived. They found the back door wide open and muddy footprints leading all the way up to my bedroom door. The intruder had vanished into the woods just as the sirens started. To this day, I never answer a call from a number I don't recognize. The final story happened at my friend Cody's house during our sophomore year of college. Cody lived in a house with a massive, unfinished basement that was always freezing and smelled of damp concrete and old boxes. It was our go-to spot for parties and late-night gaming. One night, after a long party, I was too tired to drive home and decided to crash on the old stained sofa in that basement. The basement was a labyrinth of shadows, filled with forgotten furniture and stacks of old newspapers. It was pitch black, with only a tiny green light from a small mini-fridge in the corner and the occasional hum of the furnace to keep me company. Around 4 a.m., I woke up with a dry throat and a strange feeling that someone was watching me. As my eyes adjusted to the dark, I looked toward the far corner near the water heater. In the faint green glow of the fridge, I saw a tall, dark mass. It was a man in a tattered trench coat, standing perfectly still, facing the wall. I paralyzed with fear. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. I watched the shadow for what felt like an eternity, hoping it was just a pile of coats. But then, the figure slowly began to turn its head toward me. I realized I had to get out without letting him know I saw him. I faked a loud yawn and said, "Man, I need some water," as if everything was normal. I stood up and walked toward the stairs, my heart hammering against my ribs. As I reached the top of the stairs and opened the door to the kitchen, I turned back one last time. The man was now standing at the base of the stairs, looking up at me. He raised a hand and waved, a slow, mocking wave. Cody's dad found that a basement window had been smashed. The man hadn't come to steal. He had just wanted to watch me sleep from the shadows. We believe our walls protect us, but sometimes they only serve to hide the things that want to hurt us. Always check your locks. Always trust your gut. Because the silence in your house might not be silence at all. It might just be someone holding their breath, waiting for you to look away. I am Sayful, and you were watching Night Tales. Sweet dreams, if you can.